In today's video, I have an exciting new addition to the PBD of Merrimack Valley. This is Lionel's new Vision Line Union Pacific Challenger, number 3985. I'll be going over the history of the locomotive, going over the details of this particular locomotive, and doing a short running session. So let's get started. The Union Pacific was looking for larger, more powerful, and faster steam locomotives, and in the late 1930s, they started receiving Alco 4664 Challenger locomotives. And there were several versions that were built, and the later versions, like this one, were slightly heavier. And this 3985 was built in July of 1943, and it served on UP's roster till 1957, and it was officially retired in 1962. It was shuffled around Cheyenne yards for a number of years and eventually put on display in front of the Cheyenne Depot. And then in 1979, a couple of employees decided they wanted to restore the locomotive to working order. And from 1979 to 1981, they restored it and got it up and running. It ran throughout 1980s, and there was a problem because the locomotive was a coal-burning locomotive, and the soot from the smokestack would cause brush fires along the line. So they limited its operation close to Cheyenne. And then in 1990, they converted it to oil, so that would take care of the problem. And throughout the 1990 and early 2000s, it ran excursions. And I believe in 2009, they had a boiler problem with it, and it hasn't been running since. And hopefully now that the 4014 is up and running, they're going to be focusing their attention on the 3985 to get it back on the rails. Would love to see this engine running again. Okay, so this engine was released in Lionel's 2018 Volume 2 catalog. And because it's a Vision Line locomotive, it has some extra features that the standard legacy engines do not have. A couple of the extra features are that it comes with Dynamo Smoke towards the rear of the locomotive. I'll go into more detail about that later. And then there's also smoke that comes out just below the cab on the right-hand side of the engine. There's also stereo sound. A standard legacy engine, the sound comes out of the tender only, but on a Vision Line locomotive, you've got sound that comes out of the tender and the main part of the engine, so that you're getting sound from two different sources, and you're getting more of a stereo sound. So the sound is richer, and you can definitely tell the difference. So before I go into talking about the details of the engine, I wanted to give you guys a quick, interesting story about this engine. I got it about a month ago. I read online that the sounds were not correct, and that the engine sounds were not the articulated chuffing sounds. And this is what the engine sounded like when I got it. So I decided to send it back to Lionel, and I thought that it would take, several weeks or maybe even a couple of months to get it back. So I was reluctant to do it, but I said, you know what? I paid a lot of money for this engine, and I want it to be correct. So I sent it back to Lionel, and to my surprise, it literally took 2 weeks door to door for me to get it. And they paid for the shipping both ways. It was very easy, and so now this is what the engine sounds like after I got it back from Lionel. So I'm really happy about that. So let's get into the details of the locomotive. So one of my favorite things about this locomotive is the weight of it. When I received it from UPS in the mail, the package outside said 29 pounds. And that really shocked me. And, having more weight for the locomotive is good because it equates to more pulling power. But in actuality, the weight of the engine alone, without all the packaging, is 16 pounds, 7 ounces. And to put it in perspective, my 1943, which is a Lionel Legacy SD70, weighs 5 pounds, 7 ounces. And that's only 5 ounces more than what the tender on this engine weighs, which is 5 pounds, 2 ounces. So that, like I said, is one of my favorite features about this locomotive. The length of the locomotive is 32 inches long to the rear coupler. Starting with the front of the locomotive, you've got the cow catcher here has a hidden dummy coupler. If you rotate it, you can see the dummy coupler. It swings out like that. You can replace it with a functional coupler. That coupler is only for looks. Then you've got the molded in brake line hose. You've got a cutoff bar here with the little it's all metal here. Then you've got the grab irons here that run along each side. You got the steps, more grab irons here in the front. The headlight is mounted to the bottom portion of the locomotive. The earlier Challengers, the headlight was actually on the boiler, the ones that were built in the 1930s, and they moved the headlight down to here. And on either side it says 3985. You've got the marker lights here, the number boards here. You've got a little swinging bell here, although it doesn't swing mechanically like some of the Lionel locomotives do. And the front of the boiler, I believe, opens, but I don't want to force it because there are some hinges right here. So I'm not sure if I believe it does open. And then in the middle, they've got a nice plaque that says 3985 right here in the middle of the boiler plate. Continuing with the side, there's the metal grab handle continues all the way the length of the locomotive down to the cab. You've got the twin stacks here, the whistle here, some steam domes and the sand dome. You've got pipes and hoses here along the side, another series of pipes here. Then you've got some piping here. That's a nice added detail that goes between. This one goes to the rear driver piston. You've got another one that comes up here and comes to the front piston. You've got some valves in here that are labeled that are red. You've got the firebox here, the big firebox in gray, with another valve here. Then on the side, you've got the cab number, the number of the locomotive on the cab. And I want to get some closer shots to show you some more detail. So I wanted to give you guys a close-up of the builder's plate here. It's actually two plates, one up here and one down here. And it says that it's built by Alco. Here's a close-up of the cab. You can see the engineer in the window. And I haven't tried yet, but I believe these windows slide open. I'm not sure. That's the way it came, with the window slightly open. And then you've got the engine number here. And then over here, you can't really see it, but this is another builder's plate on the tender. Okay, here's a better view of the top of the locomotive. You've got the swinging bell, you've got the twin smokestacks, you've got the whistle, and this is where the actual steam, the smoke comes out when you blow the whistle. It's got the smoke effect for every time you blow the whistle on the engine. Then over here, I wanted to show you guys, this is where the Dynamo Smoke comes out. This thing right here, and what you do is you pop this off and you put a bunch of smoke in the hole right here. You drop, 10, 15 drops of smoke in here, and that will give you the smoke effect there, and below the cab on the right hand side there'll be smoke coming out on the just below the cab. Over here you have the hatch that opens, closes. Then on the top, if you remove this plate, I know it's upside down, but here you've got the stack whistle, the stack and whistle smoke. This is the run and program switch. This turns the Bluetooth on and off. And this is the master volume switch right here. And that's what you need to do when you first add the locomotive to your roster. You got to put it on program, and it's held on. The plate is held on by magnets. Okay, here's a side view of the tender. Then you can see the Union Pacific graphics on the side with a ladder towards the rear of the tender. This is called a centipede wheel. It's got a centipede wheel arrangement, and then it's got all the wheels close together with a lead truck right behind the engine. Nice. It's got some nice rivet detail. Up top you have some hatches that open up. One here, and one here, and then you can close them. One nice feature that I like about this locomotive is it's got a plate that extends out to the tender, and it moves. Well, it's in the up position, but it drops down when you disconnect the tender from the locomotive. It's the catwalk for the crew to be able to get between the tender and the locomotive cab. There's also some curtains on either side. Okay, here's the close-up view of the inside of the cab. You can see all the red valves. It's nicely detailed. Over here you've got the engineer. Over here you've got the fireman. Also, here's that plate I was talking about that goes up and down. See, it's hanging down because the tender is not connected to the engine, but it goes up when you connect the. You got to make sure the plate is up when you connect the tender to the engine. So I wanted to show you guys the tender that's the front of the tender. I thought the detail was rather nice, with all the rivets and the doors, and you've got the molded in ladder. It's not separately applied, but it's some good detail. It's the forward section of the tender. Okay, I wanted to show you guys the rear of the tender. You've got the separately applied grab irons here. You've got the marker lights here. There's a third marker light here and a light that comes on when you put the engine in reverse. UP 3985 and some more lettering here. So I just wanted to show you one nice little detail on this engine. There are two side lights that are on either side of the locomotive that shut off when the engine reaches 25 scale miles per hour. So there's a light right here that shines down. You can see it a little bit here. And then there's a light over here. It shines and it actually illuminates the drivers down here. It's a nice feature.
At Green River, looking for some railroad. Over.
One inbound against you. Hold for the signal.
Copy that. Holding on to your orders. 3985 out. 3985 to the block operator. Still holding for our signal. Over.
You are clear through my limits. Over.
Cleared to proceed. Out. 5 to the dispatcher. We're tied down and marking off. Out.
Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. This engine, in conclusion, is a beautiful engine that Lionel has come up with. I know that they've come out with a Challenger in the past. Like I said before, I think my favorite feature of this locomotive is that it's so heavy, which gives it more weight, gives it more pulling power. What I'll probably do in the future is I'd like to play around with it and see how many cars, in fact, this engine can pull. On a last note, I just wanted to mention that I'll be putting out a lot of videos in the near future for this channel. I've got a progress update video that I need to do on the PNMV. I haven't done a PNMV progress update since last November of last year, so it's been quite a while. It's just taken me a while. I wish that I could spend more time on this layout, but you know, this is not like I can just go downstairs and start working on the trains. This is at my laundromat, so it's a little bit more difficult to find the time to work on the layout, but there'll be a lot of this, the progress update. There'll be a lot of new things in it, additions that I've made on the layout, and I don't know if you've seen in the video and you've noticed the red bridge going over the tracks. I'm going to be doing a video on how I made that bridge, a tutorial on that. I guess that's it, and until the next video, we'll see you next time.